Hey everyone, it is late at night and I am Norman. It is time, once again, for some watch news. So tonight's overall theme is odd watches, amongst others. Okay, this first watch made me really sad. And it comes to us from Fratello Watches, and this was a write-up of the Antarctique. And I mean, just look at that watch. That is absolutely amazing looking. I actually like that gold colored dial, and it has that 70s, 80s synth wavy vibe that I love. Kind of like the PRX. This is a collaboration piece put out by the brand Czapek. And you know, I just noticed in the title that it's a flamboyant version of its Antarctique. So there's other versions? I'm gonna have to look those up. Let's do that now. Czapek, Antarctique. Czapek Genève. Oh. Well, I'm gonna have to grab some of these pictures to add to this video, because these are pretty cool. Alright, they make some very interesting watches. Like the ones with the sub-seconds at about the 4 or 5 o'clock, with the radiant lines coming out from it. Those are cool. And yeah, the Antarctique in the other colorways is pretty cool. I like the one with the dial that looks like you're looking up at space, the night sky. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And it's no date. But the one that we're talking about tonight is a collaboration with GMT out of Milan, the Great Masters of Time, which was really confusing when I first encountered this watch because I'm a skimmer. So I kind of skimmed over the title and was very confused that it was a GMT. I didn't realize that was short for the brand's name. I thought it was some kind of a three-hander GMT somehow, without any pushers and just a crown. Yeah. I was like, where's the GMT hand? Or the GMT bezel? How do you tell 2 time zones on this thing? But no, it's the name of the brand they collaborated with. The integrated bracelet on these watches looks so great. And I like the way they did the crown guard on this. The markers and the hands look so good with that gold dial. So this dial is actually gold plated. And if you look at the edge of the dial, they did a nice circular brushing there. And it looks perfect with the texture in the center of the dial. And look at the side profile of these watches. That case looks so cool. I love when brands do something other than just a flat face for the side of the case. And that movement. Oh, that looks so great. Wow. This whole watch is absolutely brilliant. So why does it make me so sad? Well, first off, they're limited to 30 pieces. Why? Second off, they retail for $23,000. So sad. The case size on these watches is 40 millimeters by 10 millimeters by 45 millimeters. And the movement that's inside them is the Czapek SX H5. The next article I have comes to us from watchpro.com. And this was a write-up of the Time for Art event. So New York nonprofit The Swiss Institute is to hold its second Time for Art charity auction. Styling itself as the City Watch Auction to support contemporary art, the first edition took place in 2022. All the proceeds, including the buyer's premium, go to help artists through the Swiss Institute's exhibitions and workshops. And I have a whole list of the brands that were present there, and I went through every single piece that was listed on Time for Art's site. Some of them weren't really disclosed yet, but of the ones that were, I picked out my personal favorites, so I'll share those now. So the first one is by a brand called Nomos, and they did a triangular shaped watch, and I've never seen a piece quite like this. It's interesting because the entire watch looks very alien, except for the hands, which are leaf style hands, and those are kind of classy looking, so it's an interesting contrast. The texture on the dial is absolutely phenomenal, and it's quite minimal. There's nothing on the dial at all. And next I picked Baltic's entry. Their watch is a purple dial piece with crazy texture on it. And what's cool with what Baltic did is so many other brands that have their own kind of look and feel that they do with all of their pieces just submitted more of that. But Baltic kind of went a little crazy here with that dial. And I like the purple color too. So there's a Bulgari there, and they are a brand that did their usual look and feel, except what they did on the dial was super fun, so I included this watch. I love how they did their dial to look like it was a sketch of a watch in its very early design phase. I included Chopar's watch for the same reason. The dial on this piece looks pretty cool. It's artsy and fun and crazy. And a brand that we were just talking about, Czapek. I really hope that's how that's pronounced. But they did a mostly skeletonized dial, which shows off the super impressive movement that's in it. And the way they did the partial dial versus skeletonization was really cool. It's kind of like it's old parchment that's been torn away or decayed away. Very cool. And look at this crazy Louis Erard. Wow. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like, how do you tell the time on this piece? There are just 3 diagonal things in the middle of the dial. The colorway is pretty cool. Blue and silver. Nice. But yeah, I don't know how this watch actually works. I'm guessing that we're actually looking at 3 functional hands, because you can see that the center one is higher away from the dial than the other ones, and there appear to be pivot points on them. So maybe there's an hour hand in the middle and minutes and seconds hands above and below it, but it's definitely a unique piece. There's this fun piece by Reservoir. The colorway is amazing looking, such a fun dial. And that power reserve indicator, that's cool. And doing the jump hours, and yet the minutes hand appears to be telling hours, but it's not. That's pretty cool. Another watch that I chose is this Resonance watch, and they went with a dial that looks like it came out of a sketchbook, which is pretty fun. There's some mountains, some birds, and a creepy looking face. I like the case and how they did the lugs on this piece. And the last one that I chose is probably one of the craziest ones that I saw on this site. And this was a Toledano Chan watch. And just look at that watch. That's pretty wild. Not only is the strap odd looking and the case shape just crazy, but the texture of the dial in the case is very wild. Totally fitting for an event like this. The last 2 articles that I have come from Fratello Watches. And the first one was a write-up of the odd watches that a previous president of Cartier owned and designed or put out, I believe. And here's a picture of him in an old advertisement. And these are the watches from Ralph Destino. And yes, these are watches that he put out. At first I thought they were just super interesting watches that he hunted down and owned, but nope, he put them out. So there's this interesting round one that's super thick looking and has interesting round holes in the hands, and that dial design is something. And one of my favorites is the square one. that almost looks like it has a spider web on the dial. This piece is gold with a cream colored dial on it, and the hands are offset down by the 5 o'clock position. That piece is really cool looking. He did a watch where the dial looks like it's part of the strap. The colorway on that piece is great. That gold looks really good with the color of the strap and the dial. It would be terrible when the strap wears out and you can't match that color though. You would have to find something that would complement the dial. But yeah, that spider web looking one is really cool. And the last article that I have is kind of funny. So apparently, Nomos has decided to come out with watches that have 2 dates on them, just in case one is not quite enough. Fortunately, with these pieces, the second date is very subtle. So Nomos has put out some tangents that have a date complication around the edge of the dial like they do with other pieces, but then they also gave them a date at the 6 o'clock. And I'm not sure why you would need that. Why would you need 2 dates? I mean, maybe if you're traveling so far that you're actually in a different day? I don't know. But these watches retail for $2,000, and the cases on them are 37mm by 7mm by 48mm. And the movement that's inside them is the Nomos DUW4601. Yeah, and it's just kind of hilarious. Why would you give your watch 2 dates? I mean, yeah. I guess it's kind of fun because it's funny, but... So there you have it. You are now caught up on watch news. Thanks for watching.